Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? So I've got a question for you and sort of a statement, but there is in our country right now and around the world a lot of division, a lot of separation between groups. It seems like those divides are getting further and further. Um, but I feel like the solution to that problem is finding common ground and agreeing on small things so we can eventually work towards larger things. But an example of that is can we find a way to agree on some basic facts and simple things, whether regardless of ideology or difference of opinion or difference of perspective. We just, like I said, can we agree on some basic facts? And what I mean by that is an example from this week that I saw in the news. Um, was Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey was testifying before the Senate. He was being questioned by members of the United States Senate, and one of the questions asked of him was, "Does Twitter have the ability to impact or influence an election?" Does Twitter have the ability to influence an election? And Jack Dorsey's response was no. And to me, my belief is that is absolutely patently false. That's 100% incorrect. And to me, that is an area where I feel like we as free thinking people need to find some common ground is on issues like this. Is that a true statement or is that a false statement? For those of you that feel like that is a false, or I'm sorry, that is a real true statement, that Twitter does not have the ability to influence an election, I would like to hear your explanation of that, because to me, that is 100% false, and it could not be more false. Twitter very much has the ability to influence an election. Twitter has lots of influence, actually, in lots of areas, particularly with an election year, with the information they allow on their platform. So, like I said, finding some common ground in this divisive society that we live in is important. So, can we find common ground on things like this? In my opinion, Jack Dorsey is being dishonest when he says that Twitter does not have the ability to influence an election. I don't even understand how those words can leave, how that can even be a thought process of his, that Twitter can influence an election. I can influence an election. You can influence an election. So certainly a platform as large as Twitter, with the amount of users that it has influence. Twitter has influence. And to say that Twitter doesn't have influence, to me, is not only a lie, but it's irresponsible. So what's your input on that? Is Jack Dorsey telling the truth? Or is this something we can find common ground on regardless of your political belief or your political preference? Do you feel like the truth matters, and is he telling the truth? So my belief is that he's not telling the truth, and we should be able to find some common ground here and understand as intelligent people that Twitter has influence over an election. So what are your thoughts on that? Is that something we can find common ground on? Is that a truthful statement? And can we come together as a very divided nation and divided people, start working together and finding common ground around truth and what's real? Because Twitter has influence over an election, and to say that it doesn't, to me, is very irresponsible and patently false. So let me know what you think about that, and is this somewhere we can find some common ground? Thanks, y'all.